And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today we are talking about the defense of the Washington Commanders, and it is nice to have a victory Monday as the Washington Commanders beat the Cleveland Browns 34-13. But I went back a couple days ago to find this article out there about the Commanders defensive coordinator, Joe Witt Jr., and he is talking about not being satisfied with the defense. And one of the things that he talked about in this particular piece is that, well, he was looking for the cornerbacks or a corner to step up out there and be dependable for this defense. And I think that they found one on Sunday. I really do. I think with the rookie Mike still coming over from Michigan, I talked about how physical he played in the secondary. I think that there was a number of times he came up and made some big hits. I can actually remember one of the plays where he knocks Deshaun Watson out of bounds. And I think that they got into a little bit of a scuffle on the sidelines. But I love that because he brought that physicality. I've talked about bringing an identity to the offensive end with the way that they've just been running the football down team's throat. Now you get this on the defensive end where we are creating negative plays and becoming a physical team that is a very good tackling team. I think that, he has helped really set an identity, and he might become that player in the secondary that we were anticipated seeing, coming out of the University of Michigan. But here is what he was able to do. He had 4 total tackles solo. He also had a pass deflection. And like I said, there were numerous times where he made some great hits on film. So I thought that he did a terrific job in the secondary and really leading the way. And next up, talking about Benjamin St-Juste, I think that he did a terrific job as well. Yes, they gave up 60 yards to Amari Cooper, but it was a tough 60 yards. And I thought that he did a terrific job as far as meeting the football at the highest point and really contesting, did a lot of great things as far as jamming wide receivers, making it tough windows for Deshaun Watson to kind of fit the football into. So I think the secondary has absolutely tightened up. Quan Martin came down, delivered some big shots as well, and also too some good pass deflections. And so I think that the secondary has collectively gotten better, and I feel like their confidence has grown. And I think a lot of that really comes down to the next point, and that is what the defensive line and what the linebackers have been able to do. Because let's be honest, I mean, if you're covering out there and you are rushing the quarterback into some tough throws, then that is going to put you into some great situations as a corner, because now you're not having to defend as long. You're going to have some opportunities to bat some balls down, which I've just talked about, and also too maybe even pick some footballs off, which I anticipate the turnovers are going to start to pile up as they continue to generate pressure up front, like the Washington Commanders did. And so, talking about it, I talked about how well that Frankie Louvu did yesterday. I was talking about just his presence. I mean, he had 7 total tackles. He had 4 solo tackles, but 2.5 sacks. I mean, he was all over the place. And I think when you look at one of the bigger free agent acquisitions for this Commanders defense, it was absolutely Frankie Louvu, who got a game ball if you were looking at that game on Fox. But, man, he was all over the place. I loved Bobby Wagner and his sack. I mean, just literally just pushing the Cleveland Browns front line up front. And I get it is the Cleveland Browns. And one of the things that was talked about on Locked On Commanders when they had done the crossover episode is that the Cleveland Browns really have been struggling to try to figure out who their offensive linemen were going to be on a week-to-week basis because they've been that injured. But, to see the Commanders really come back and repeat what they did with the Arizona Cardinals, much like the offense, it really gives you the hope now to say that, look, this is not a fluke with this team. I think that they are really starting to catch on. And much like the offensive unit, I said this before, I think that it's something about, now I'm seeing it, really a trend across the NFL. It looks like teams are really starting to figure it out after the first 4 to now 5 weeks of the season, because you had that preseason period where there were a lot of teams, players that might have been out. And I guess that might have limited maybe some of the defense and the offensive packages or whatever the case may be. But it looks like the defense definitely has stepped it up. And I don't, maybe it's the play call too, because I think that when I look at the natural pressures that they did, that's one thing. But there were a couple times where they did call some blitzes and they got home and they were properly executed. And I just think that, that has to come down to trust. I don't know if necessarily they would have called that type of play earlier in the season, especially when we were giving up big plays like that. But I think that you have more trust now with this defense to go ahead and call some blitzes and things like that and take chances up front. You have chance, or you have really trust now in your secondary to hold up. And so I think that Joe Wood Jr., these guys are starting to go ahead and now dial up some pressures. And so just going back to some of the things that we were able to do against the Cleveland Browns, at one point in time, we held them to 0 of 10 on third downs, and that was well into the fourth quarter. That is tremendous if you do a great job in getting off the field on third downs, which has really been the story for this Washington Commanders team over the last 2 weeks. Also, too, the average for the Cleveland Browns was an average of 3rd and 8. So they were generally behind the first down marker really all Sunday. I think that was terrific with what the Commanders were able to do to go ahead and generate some pressure up front, make it difficult for them. I talked about yesterday how they were able to just really hold Cleveland down in the running game. So there wasn't very much gain there. So that was terrific. Then also, too, at one point, with the 7 sacks we had 8 knockdowns on 27 dropbacks. I mean, that is just fabulous when you get that type of production from the front line. And it was just multiple people, whether it was Dorrance Armstrong, Deron Payne, like just everybody being able to generate pressure. And what I love too is that they were disciplined. Okay. So when Deshaun Watson would try to step out of the pocket and make a huge play out there, there was somebody there to go ahead and cover that lane. In fact, that led to an interception or a fumble, whatever it was, where Deshaun Watson actually got it knocked out of his hand. So it was a fumble. And that was terrific. And that was all just because he was trying to get out the pocket, just holding the rushing lanes, not giving up on the play that caused a forced fumble. All right. And so, just with that being said, again, man, just the defensive awareness from the Commanders was terrific. I have got to give the Commanders defense their flowers. I think that they have literally turned it around from what they were able to do in week 1. They gave up 392 yards. Then you saw, too, against the Giants, they gave up 300 yards. This last game, just 212 yards. Like, the yardage that they're giving up every game has gone down each game. And I think that we're going to find out just how great this unit can be. We are going against an elite Ravens team that wants to play physical. I just talked about the fact that maybe the Washington Commanders defense is finding this identity of being physical. So now, will we be able to hold Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson down as far as the yards per carry? Because that is what the Ravens are going to want to do to attack us there. I'm more concerned with them on the ground than I am in the air. And I think in the air, I think we figured it out. Like I said, I talked about the cornerback play and taking away some of those splash plays. So we will see what is going to happen. Once again, it is Victory Monday for the Washington Commanders as we get ready for the Baltimore Ravens. Let me know what you are thinking about this Commanders defense, as I will have to give credit where credit is due. Great job to the Commanders defense. I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. Peace.